what is your favorite childhood memory of us?
Our Beyonce concerts.
I was gonna say the same
We used to
thing.
have a lot of those. Those were great. We used to have a lot of Destiny's Children, Destiny's Childs. What are they called?
Destiny's Child.
Destiny's Child
Yeah.
concerts. They were amazing.
I mean, that's not the only concerts we had. We had a
No,
lot
we
of
had other
concerts.
concerts,
I think
but
just
those
in
ones
general,
just-
and also me forcing you to dance.
Yes.
That was my
That
fun.
was a lot.
Yeah, same.
But yeah,
Same here.
that was a good one. That was a good one. What's something that you learned about me that surprised you? What's something that you learned about me
Recently.
that surprised you? Oh wow.
Recently?
We can do recently, yeah.
I mean, I've always knew. You was always knew.
New. I've always knew.
I've always known.
Yeah.
I've always known that you're very good with instruments. Like you
Right.
pick up an instrument and like nobody has to teach you how to.
Right.
But I only discovered recently that you're really good at the guitar, which.
Right.
So recently, that is something that I mean I knew you were learning how to play, but I
Yeah.
didn't know you could play like that.
Right,
You
fair
know, you
enough.
just hear the sound and you just did it, and I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, okay.
mean-
What's something you learned about me?
I wouldn't say I underestimated it, but I think I haven't really been aware of your creative side, and so your creative, I felt like I took those, that gene. But no, but it's fine. I think now more I realize I was like, flip, like you have a very great creative side to you, which was, it made sense. It wasn't like a shocker. I was like, oh, it makes sense because I've got it. So
Is it the level of creativity?
yes, the level of creativity. I was like,
Okay.
okay, yeah, that was definitely something.
Okay.
That, yeah. There's like levels to it.
Oh boy,
It's
here we go.
yeah.
Here we go.
In what ways have I changed since we were younger?
Wow,
Yeah.
what a roller coaster.
It's
No, I wouldn't expose you like
Okay,
that.
no, whatever. It's okay.
In what ways have you
have I
changed?
changed since we were younger?
I think you've become your own more. Whereas I think when we were younger, there was a lot of things that would happen where you would sometimes see something and you don't want to be like that. But
Right.
I think maybe now more than ever, for the
Right.
first time, I'm seeing you be you and become you
Yeah.
and being unapologetic about it and stuff. It's the most beautiful thing seeing you grow, which I mean, every child sees that and
Yeah.
they want to be something, but you've changed a lot in being comfortable in you and still like learning to be comfortable with you
Right.
and being the real you. And
Yeah.
there's like the more you grow in you, the stronger you become and the more authority and power that you carry.
That was a good answer.
Thank you.
Good answer. Good answer. I think on my side, I feel like it's probably a bit harder to answer because I think when you grow up and you have an older sibling, you are constantly there's a level of used lightly. There's a level of glorification. So it's like you view your older sibling as up there, despite like the fights and all those things that happen with siblings. Like there's a level of like you've put your sibling on a pedestal, and so there's always a sense of benefit of the doubt. So I'm trying to think what's changed. I feel like you used to bully me when we were younger. I don't know. Why you laugh? You see?
I
No,
did?
No, I don't know.
No. I think I've grown a lot in patience.
I think you have, but you know what it is? I think you used to be very, what I say goes type of person. Whereas now you consider us also. and what we have to say, and maybe we are right. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? So like, I think that's changed. That's
Yeah.
all. Yeah. I think back then it used to be, what does it goes?
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. What's something you've learned about the world that scares you?
No one knows what they're doing. I think the reason why that's scary is because you kind of, at the end of the day, everyone has someone or something that they look up to, aspire to be or become. And you realize that even that thing doesn't know. You know what I'm saying? Like even that thing is, for a lack of a better term, untrustworthy. Like you can't trust these things. And so that's just a little bit, and obviously it helps having a more sure anchor in God. But I think in a very simple life that we live, we do look to other people to kind of be some form of foundation or anchor. And so the scary thing is realizing that no one really knows what they're doing, I think.
I think for me, it's learning. It was something I've learned a while ago, that sometimes people will push their agenda more than they will just to have you protected, or, you know.
Tense. Yeah.
And I think I learned that the hard way, that sometimes some people don't genuinely want to be there for you. They have their own agendas.
Right.
And I think I've seen that even growing up, where some people would connect with me, not to necessarily know how I'm doing, or, you know, how life's treating you, or, you know, what I need, but it was just what I could do for them. And I think that scares me, in the sense that the world isn't necessarily a safe place, but it still gives me hope, because our hope is in Jesus. So we don't trust man, we trust God. But I think that's scary, and I think that when you don't know who God is, which is the most important thing in my life, when you don't know who God is, then it's scary. It's scary, because then who can carry you, who can, you know? Not all people, but a lot of people, and I guess, that's scary.
Makes sense. Honest. Yeah. How do you think your childhood has affected how you do friendships now?
Wow.
No, they're crazy. They wrote these. They're about it.
How has my wow. I don't even know how to say it.
Crazy. Yeah. It's a real question.
My childhood and how I do friendships. Firstly, I was bullied as a child by my friends. So, and I think growing up, because I was bullied by my friends all the time, I didn't allow myself to have friends. So immediately there was a wall, there was a distance. And I think for a time of my life, I was very defensive, because it was kind of like, before you can, you know, do whatever it is that let me put up this wall, and I'm going to let you know that you can't mess with me, you know. So, and it's obviously different now, you know, having to heal and to grow and to mature. But that is definitely something that I took into like my teenage and like my first few years of varsity, that I put up a wall before I'm, you know, like I just don't trust people because people are mean. And but now how it affects now, I think now I understand, because just taking from the experience of when I was a child, the reason why I was bullied, it wasn't necessarily because of me, it was because of them, because of so there is obviously something that I learned, is that there is a level of brokenness that they had,
Right.
that they carried. And knowing that now, my approach to people is different because I approach everyone knowing that they might have some brokenness inside of them. And so me as a friend, my first response is, how can I serve you in your brokenness? How
Right.
can I be there? So I guess there's two sides of it, where in the beginning I was defensive, but now understanding that people are broken and sometimes their brokenness manifests differently in different ways. I then asked the question of, how can I be there for you?
Right.
And obviously, there are times where they can be there for me as well, but having the perspective of people's brokenness and the way that manifests has nothing to do with me.
Right.
And I guess that's been the foundation of, I guess, like ministry or what I do, that people's brokenness, the way it manifests and the way that, you know, they carry themselves, I'm able to, you know, based on what has happened, I'm able to relate differently because I know that what you're carrying is real because I've experienced it before. So that's how I do friendships now,
Right.
because there is a deeper understanding of that relationship.
That's a good answer.
Your turn.
I feel I probably had to grow up quicker than I was. What's the word? I had to grow up quicker than I was supposed to. And so that always allowed me to be, for most part, the oldest in the room, even if I wasn't the oldest in the room. And which it unfolded itself in a lot of ways where I would always feel the need or find myself being the helper, the provider, the shoulder to lean on, which then affected how I received it, because I gave it from a young age, so I think because I gave it a lot from a young age, I then struggled to receive it, because like you said, the war was up. And so which even till now, I think I still very much don't allow help easily, because I am still the helper, I'm still the provider, I'm still the shoulder to lean on, which has affected how I get it back. Kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh no.
Okay. So I just read the first word and I was like,
Reading
"Ish."
is a skill.
It is a skill. What toxic expectations or expectation did you have of friendships that have helped you unlearn?
People are not perfect, but it doesn't mean they don't love you.
Did I teach you that?
Yeah.
When?
Bro! I told you it's been a roller
You better
coaster.
tell them I'm wise. You better tell them I'm wise. Tell them.
I think it's just what I've learned from you directly is that people are not perfect.
Right.
And it's not to say that you've been a bad person, but in your imperfection, I think I grew in seeing love and seeing acceptance in its own way. It goes back to people's brokenness showing themselves in a certain way. And I think that I've learned to be able to understand brokenness, because if you're broken, and not you, just everyone, if you're broken, you love in a certain way. So then I, who is in need of love, need to understand the language of brokenness. Does that make sense? So understanding the love that's coming, even without it looking like what I thought it was supposed to look like. Well, not even brokenness, immaturity, or all the things, the process of growth, or anything. Understanding that you might not know how, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. You might not know how to express it, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. And so that's how I learned that people are not perfect, and not putting them in a box of this is what love means. So if it doesn't look like this, it's not love. If you're not perfect, then you don't love me, or you don't want to be part of my life. But it's actually understanding, no, they actually are dying to be part of your life. They actually literally really love you, but the way that they show it comes from a whole different experience that actually has nothing to do with you. So then me, in knowing that, being able to relate to that imperfection. So
that's good.
Yeah, but in order to do that, it's first realizing that people are not perfect. But the lack of perfection does not mean the lack of love. The lack of perfection doesn't mean the lack of trust. Or so yeah, that's what you taught me.
Sure, it's crazy. Trying to think one of our most recent conversations. I had one now. Probably that it's coming. It's there. It's almost there.
It's okay. I can see it.
You can see it. Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, it's coming. Probably that people. There it is. You can't expect people to. Or you can't automatically expect people to know or understand without teaching them. And so I know that conversation came out of my problems with people, with human beings in general. And so to which your response was, if you don't teach them, then they don't know. And so there's a level of teaching that needs to happen from there's a responsibility on my side to teach people. And so I think we are quick to feel that people just need to know. Like it's not common sense. I don't even think anything is common sense, because life is just so crazy right now that things actually aren't common sense. So retrospect, that nothing is common sense. You need to have the patience to teach if you want to be understood, or if you want the problem to be understood.